they were like, they're in poverty. But for us, it was just normal. So I had my dad's funeral online at Zoom at 4:30, and I was dancing in front of 8 million people 3 hours later. Now, I'm a inner city kid, working class home, single mum. I always did athletics, I was always very quick. And then age 16, I ran an Olympic qualifying time, 10.6. In order to develop resilience, you have to go through some shit. You have to. You have to be tested, you have to be challenged. Was I the most talented rugby player of the lads I grew up with that played county rugby, played underage rugby, that played at Harlequins, did England age grade stuff? No. There was way more talented kids and they didn't make it. They didn't make it. So how come? Talent isn't enough, it's just not. I've gone from like serving people teas and coffee, serving their cold drinks, to playing on the pitch. So to be selected for the Lions is the best of the best. I started playing rugby at age 13. That moment came 26. It was 13 years for 7 seconds of like glory. But if I had to do another 13 years for them 7 seconds, I'd do it again.
Yeah. Good to go. Cheers for coming on, mate.
Thanks for having me. It's nice.
Nice room, isn't it?
It's gorgeous. They always say you could tell the size of a house by the size of the echo. Do you know what I mean? Like, decent ceilings here, right in the heart of London.
So what I thought we'd start off with is you as a young boy. What was it like? Because obviously we can go into your career and everything a little bit later on, but what were you like when you were younger?
Playful.
Yeah.
Got 2 brothers, 2 sisters. Big family. So we just spent a lot of time just being kids. And that probably means something wildly different today. Because for me, being a kid was being outside, literally your mum shouting down the street like, come home, or picking you up from someone's house, whatever. So I was really active. I do think I had the potential. I think every kid has lots of energy, and all they need is for it to be directed and focused. And I had loads of energy, and I'm not certain it was always going in the right direction. But yeah, I was very playful, probably not that focused. I enjoyed school, but I enjoyed school because probably just saw it as an opportunity to hang out with my mates and mess around. But that changed a little bit. At the age of 13, I ended up going to private school, and that changed everything. But before then, mate, I'm a inner city kid, working class home, single mum, 5 kids. We didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot at all, that's for certain. But yeah, things change a little bit.
So, because I'm similar to yourself, really, you know, working class background, and for me, I'd never even seen a rugby pitch until it was that, you know, everyone played football on the
Yeah.
street, and you know, when the street lights come on, that's when you knew it was time to go home,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah.
And that was it. So what was it? How did that come about then, that you ended up going to private school?
Yeah, honestly, it's so bizarre because being a lad from North London, single parent, off a council estate, they're not really the types of life journeys that people go on. I was told, at least, to then end up playing rugby. I knew nothing about rugby, had no interest. I support Arsenal. I wanted to be Ian Wright. I thought my whole career was, I thought I was going to play football like millions of kids, millions of boys and girls. And then my mum saw an advertisement in a paper for a private school down in Hampshire, and they were offering foundation scholarships to kids from single parent backgrounds. And so my mum applied, and I don't know what made her think about it. Maybe she thought this could find himself in trouble, but her intervention like changed my life. So we went to this school, and I remember the first time we turned up to it, I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, being an inner city kid, just seeing so much grass, seeing football pitches alongside hockey pitches, alongside cricket pitches, like having all of these different sporting opportunities, all of this space. It was bonkers. It was like I was at Disneyland, but Disneyland for sport. was mental. And also it was like a world away from the world that I was living in. So I was obviously like really impressed, was amazed, had to do an exam, passed it, and thankfully I got in. I remember my mum dropping me off. This is the first time I've ever been away from home. I was only 13, and I was one of, I reckon, 2 or 3 black kids at the school. So I'd gone from like being an inner city kid where everyone was like me,
Yeah.
totally flipped on his head, to really standing out in so many different ways, not just my ethnicity, but also everyone else like came from money. And watching everyone get dropped off in Range Rovers and Mercedes Benz, and we're taking the train in and got a taxi,
Mm.
you know, to get dropped off. So it was just very, very different worlds. And how I got into rugby was, and this is where sport's brilliant, they didn't play football at the school. So I thought this a massive stitch up. I've never been away from home. I'm now boarding. I now live in the countryside. The countryside. Do you know what I mean? I'm wearing a Barber jacket to school. Do you know what I mean? Like, what? And they don't play the thing that I held dearest to my heart. That was my love. That was my
Yeah.
passion. They played rugby. And so I took it on because I wanted to make friends. And if that's what everyone else does, I guess that's what I'm doing. So it was, when people say, how'd you get into rugby? I went, I just wanted to make friends. And they're like, no, it must have been because I was like, no, didn't love it, knew nothing about it, probably couldn't even spell it. But I just wanted to make friends. And that's what I did. And I think it's so simple when you're a child. And I still think this philosophy resonates among adults. You apply yourself to things that you have an interest in. I didn't have an interest in rugby, but I had an interest in making friends. So I applied myself. If you're encouraged, you work harder. And I was encouraged, so I worked harder. And if you work harder, you get better. And if you get better, you enjoy it more. So you work harder. And so you just have this circle, this virtuous circle of just things just working out. But it all starts from stepping in and applying yourself first and then seeing the benefits. And as adults, we probably don't get encouraged enough for the hard work that we put in. And so you think, what's the point? If no one notices or you're not getting anything out of it, but if you encourage people, they'll try harder. And if they try harder, you get the best out of them, you see results, and then you continue to do that. So that was the birthplace of my love for rugby, but I also think it was the birthplace of the person I am today, like 100%.
What were your friends like? The friends that you left behind, really. Not saying you left
Yeah.
them behind, but obviously because it's a brave step, especially at that age.
Yeah,
You know, like me and my brothers, we all went to different schools because
Yeah.
we all followed where our friends were going.
yeah,
So to be able to, for you, that's, it's not like you've just gone to a different school. You've gone to a different life, haven't you?
yeah. Mate, I moved like 80 miles. Like, it's not like I've just gone to another school in the borough. Like, I'm in a different county. Like, I'm in a different county. Very different to the life I lived. So I was a full-time boarder, so I actually didn't see my old mates for a little while. And they were like, where have you been? You know? And it wasn't uncommon to see people disappear for lots of different reasons. Do you know what I mean? But they were like, where have you? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. They're like, do you want to play football? I was like, yeah. I was like, do you want to play rugby? They're like, huh? What's that? Like, you've changed. So, yeah, it was, I do find it funny. I do find it interesting because, do you know, when you're not seeing people for a good while and everything's the same.
Yeah.
So whether that be your relationship with them, but it was also a little bit sad because you're like, your life hasn't moved on. But that could have also been my life. Like, genuinely, I remember being at my last school before I went to private school. If anyone asked me what I wanted to do as a job, I wanted to work in Foot Locker. Like, I wanted to work in Foot Locker and take the discount and just like work with my mates. That was the vision I had for myself. I was just, because it wasn't like there was anyone else in like my social ecosystem that was doing significantly more than that. So I thought,
No one to aspire to.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah.
so I was like, I'll just do that. And genuinely, I'd have been happy. I'd have been happy doing that, and that's cool. So it was different, and it was a massive eye opener because I'm now at a school whereby such and such is CEO of this, or owner of this, or invented this, and I always say to people, it broke the boundaries of the vision that I could have for myself. I was able to dream without being all grand about it, but I was able just to dream a little bit bigger because there was examples there, and the opportunities more so than anything was there. So that was probably the biggest difference I noticed when I headed home. It was wicked to still connect to my mates and still be a kid and still do the same things, play Kirby, play football on the streets, and then just like someone whistling, cars coming, game's over for a minute, and then you're back into it and just doing all that silly stuff. But I felt I was different. I was on the way in, actually. It's funny how videos pop up and they said, I'm not saying this is how it was for me, but it did make me think in the car. The grass doesn't hang out with, sorry, trees don't hang out with the grass, even though they both came from the same place.
Mhm.
It's just different.
Yeah.
Like you grow differently and you aspire to be different things, and they are different things. Not because the tree thinks it's better than the grass. They're equally as valuable. They do the same thing, but they both came from the same place.
Mm.
They just don't exist in the same space anymore. And that's probably how I felt a little bit.
I mean, you were obviously probably a lot young to think at the time, but was it difficult to settle in? And you'd almost think you had that bit of imposter syndrome
Yeah.
as a child because like everyone's come from these backgrounds.
100%. Like their lives and their world was so different to mine. Like, I tell this story a lot. Like I met my first mate with a double-barreled name at private school. It's like, why have you got two names? Because often it's because like mum and dad are split, so you're taking both surnames. But no, he had a double-barreled name. I was like, that's what posh people do. I guess they just give two names. And he was chatting. He's like, "Oh, where are you from? What do you do? All the rest of it." And I was like, "Oh, I actually live on an estate." And he's like, "I live on an estate." I was like, "Oh, sick, cool." So I went to his house at the weekend. It's not an estate.
You
I
lived
mean, it
on
was an
an
estate.
estate.
It was an estate, not a council estate. Like, so it was just different. It was just different, but kids will always be kids, and whilst you notice those things, they don't define people. You don't hang out with kids aged 13 or 14 because mum's got a wicked car or dad's got this or whatever. Like, you hang out with people because you like them or you do similar things. You got common interests, and that's how it was. And it cuts through a lot of the nonsense. But I did definitely feel different. I felt different because I didn't have what they had. Like, the house I lived in was nowhere near what these lads were in. They weren't coming to mine for the weekend. My brother tells a story actually when he then came to school a couple of years later. He's an unbelievable sports person. He played cricket, he played athletics, he played rugby, he played football, he did everything. And he played a cricket match and it finished late. And one of his teammates' mums dropped him back home for the weekend, came home for the weekend. And his classmate said, "Oh, can I use your bathroom?" So he walked in and he was like, "Open the door, you're in the front room." And it was like, "Yeah, just back there." And then the following weekend, that boy's mum turned up at school with like food and clothes. They felt sorry for us. Like, what they thought we were poor, we didn't have lots, but they were like, they're in poverty.
Yeah.
But for us, it was just normal. We're like, no. So there was certain points where you're like, do you know when you just don't know? I was like, we're fine. Mum's given us everything that we need. I see how hard she works. We're happy. And then you've got the other side of it where it exposes you to, oh, actually, maybe we don't have everything you need because look what they've got and this and that. And then it becomes, you just start looking over the neighbour's fence a little bit more. Didn't take away any of my happiness, but certainly people looked at you different. Like in this example, they felt sorry for my brother. And it's like, we laugh about it now, but because it's important to recognise how it all started. Everyone starts somewhere, but that was mad. Like, that's mad as an experience. But as a kid, it's just whatever, isn't it?
Do you think it made you more driven to prove a point in the school? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I said earlier, like, I'm the person I am today because of where it all started, age 13. Being taken away like from my mum, going to school, being a boarder, like it's a kind of blessing and a curse. I feel like I can do everything in my own might because at school I didn't have like a brother at the time. I didn't have my circle of friends who I grew up with. It's all on me now. So I'm very self-reliant. I think I'm very self-sufficient, but also it's the negative side of it is I probably don't ask for help when I need it
Yeah.
because I'll do it. I'll sort it out. It's always been that way. And so I always look to myself, which is probably not the good thing, but um, yeah, it definitely changed me. And I think positively, and I definitely learned a sense of resilience, 100%, like 100%. Also been able to adapt into like different situation scenarios, like being the person I was, to then at the age of 13 be ripped away from your like social community, your community, and then into a brand new environment, knowing no one. You learn a bit because you have to, because well, there isn't an alternative. I mean, the alternative is you don't go to this amazing school that can provide incredible opportunities. You can just remain where you are. Or you crack on, make some friends, try and bed in, keep your head down, work hard, and see what comes. And I chose the latter. And that was brilliant because going to that school and having those opportunities and wanting to make friends through rugby has changed my life. And it's mental to think I could have gone the other way and gone, I'm not comfortable here. Let's go home and let's go work at Foot Locker, which would have been fine. But I could have missed out on a world of opportunity.
Mhm. How long were you in the school for before you noticed yourself that you had a real talent?
Say by the age of 16, I knew I was talented or had certain talents. I always did athletics. I was always very quick. And then age 16, I ran an Olympic qualifying time, 10.6. And I was like, okay, that's good. That's good. And then I started playing like county rugby. So you started to step outside of the school and then compete against a far greater scale of people of a similar age. And that went okay. And that was really good. It wasn't really until I was probably 17 where there was something tangible. So at age of 17, I started playing for Harlequins under 19s and under 21s. But you never know where it's going to take you. It's not like I had this dream from the age of 5 to be a rugby player. I was still so green to it. Everyone else had been playing since 5 and 6. I was learning age 13. So it's probably like 17 where you're starting getting into squads. Harlequins, one of the most famous rugby clubs on the planet. If they come knocking and giving you opportunities, then it's a good steer that your career or a future career is maybe attainable, but you still have to take a chance. And I did. I did my A levels. Said to my mum I was going to take a year out, and having a conversation with a Nigerian mother, telling her after everything she had done and sacrificed to go to school that I'm not going to uni for a year to pursue rugby. And rugby means nothing to her. Like it's not a thing in Nigeria. Athletics is. The Super Eagles, the national football team's huge. Rugby doesn't really have much of a footprint. So I think she thought I was just like taking time out to pursue a hobby. And she said to me, no, like go to uni. And I said, well, loads of my mates are going travelling, so I'm just going to take a year out, see what happens. And 2 months into that year out, I broke my metatarsal, was out for 2 months, and I was thinking, flipping heck, I should have listened to my mum. I came back, my first training session back, I broke it again. I was out for the season. So I thought, I've literally spent a year just rehabbing my foot and being in the gym. Like, that's not ideal. But you're dealt the cards you're dealt. And I thought, well, if I can't play rugby, just going to work flipping hard. And I grafted. In fact, it was, everything happens for a reason. And sometimes the things you feel that are a setback or are holding you back, you're meant to be where you're meant to be in life. And it's not always where you think you should be, but you are where you are, so make the most of it. That period where I broke my foot, there's a player called Keith Wood, and in 2001, he was World Player of the Year. So there wasn't a better rugby player on the planet than Keith Wood. Irish fella, I love him. I'd been watching him on my telly all summer, going, flipping heck, this guy, like, what a legend. So I got injured. He had a shoulder operation. And there was only a few of us injured in the squad at the same time. He then became my training partner for the next 6 months. I couldn't learn off a better person.
Yeah.
And the way in which he was with me was just beyond belief. I'm this kid who's just done his A-levels. He's the best rugby player on the planet. And he took me under his wing, showed me what hard work was, showed me what professionalism was. And we trained flipping hard. Like in football terms, imagine like Messi strolling in when he was at Barcelona, working with the kid who's just come out of school. That's what it was for me. And so whilst that year of being injured and not being able to play rugby, it was actually a year of so much growth. It got me prepared for the men's game. I was a good athlete as an 18-year-old, but how was I going to compete against some of the best players on the planet? So that year was the best thing to ever happen to me. I didn't realise or feel it at the time, but it gave me an unbelievable platform and foundation for the rest of my career. And I'll never forget how he was with me. Like, he gave me everything. Honestly, gave me everything. And at the end of the year, Harlequins gave me a 3-year contract. I hadn't even played a game of rugby. But they just said, you've got a great work ethic. You train really hard. Keith reckons you might have something about you. So, I mean, there's literally not a better person to like say, I think you might be all right. So isn't it nuts how like life works itself out sometimes like that?
It's funny because the next question I was going to ask you was, have you had someone like a mentor in your life that is literally, and would you say that's him who's just...
Yeah, like, he was my first mentor and I couldn't have asked for a better one. And he changed so much in me. I mean, his legacy in me was when I became a senior player, I'd always want to look after young fellas because everyone's got somewhere because someone's A, given them a chance, and B, someone's helped them along the way. No one just gets to wherever they want to get to, all in their own might. And so he was amazing for me. Also, my first coach, Colin Osborne, he's an ex-teacher turned coach. He gave me the first opportunity. He saw something in me. And it's wild. Often other people see the potential, they see the potential in you before you see it in yourself, or their vision for you is way bigger. Like, I commentate now, right? That's my job. And I'll see a lad on debut and he'll play for England. But that kid's probably not even thought it. You see something. It's amazing. You wish you could turn that mirror on yourself and be able to see the way in which other people like view you. Sometimes, right? Not always.
Not always, no.
And so...
Be crying myself most nights as well.
Exactly. Turn the lights off. Want to cry. But Keith was great. He was amazing. And I had a few. There was another guy called Dan Luger. He was a winger. I was a winger. He played for England 2 years after my signing. He won a World Cup. Like, having people like him around you, and like, I'm obsessed with high performance, and I don't just mean sport. I'm fascinated by how people get to where they've got in any walk of life. What is it you did? And there are no secrets. The similarities, there's so many similarities. So being around like people like that, you're just passively picking things up from and intently like listening and watching and trying to replicate whilst trying to be yourself and find yourself. So I was really lucky to have a number of high performing people that were at the very top of their game just to listen, learn off. Jason Leonard's another one, like flipping heck. I mean, he achieved everything, and was such a good bloke. So it's not just very well talented people, it's really good people. And when you get a mix of the two, like hopefully that can rub off on you.
There's no cheat code, and I think I find a lot more now in business, especially young people setting up businesses, they're not willing to put the graft in. So that goes from sport right through to business,
Yeah.
whatever it is. It's like, but that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Turn up every single morning.
Yeah.
And there is no fast route to it. It's just graft, isn't it?
100% graft. And another quality which I think every human wants, but not everyone wants the process of getting it, is resilience. In order to develop resilience, you have to go through some shit. You have to. Just have to. You have to have setbacks. You have to be tested. You have to be challenged. You have to have all of that. There's no way of getting from zero to resilience without having dips in life, like your own personal careers, personal lives, whatever it is. It's the only way you develop resilience. It's the only way. It's a tough route, but I promise you on the other side of it, that's where you're developing your bank of resilience. So yeah, grafting really hard gives you a good opportunity. So like my eldest daughter, Phoenix, like I love her. She's amazing. Like she loves school, super bright, wildly athletically gifted. Okay. And occasionally I ask her, and I remember like during COVID, I asked her what she wants to be, and she was like, I want to be one of the doctors or nurses because they get clapped on a Thursday. And I was like, super cute. And then a few weeks later, I was like, oh, do you know what you want to be? Do you still want to be a doctor or nurse? She went, I want to be the fastest girl in the world. And like no one thinks metaphorically, no one's metaphorical world is bigger than kids. Because no one's ever said no.
Yeah.
They dream it, they think it. And like, I had a proud dad moment where I was like welling up while she's in the bath. She's probably thinking, what a weirdo. He's just asked me a question. I've given him an answer. Like, it's no big deal. But it's no big deal for her to make a statement of, I want to be the fastest girl in the world. So all I try and do to her now is, and I'm so pleased she can dream as big as that, because I couldn't and I didn't when I was a kid. So great. Tick. She dreams really big. All I try and teach her as a kid is working really hard. Doesn't guarantee success, but it gives you a good chance.
Yeah.
And whatever you do, whether you make it or not, whatever making it means, at least you'll know you've given everything. So you look back and go, got no regrets.
Yeah, it's not,
Do you know what I mean? Maybe it just, exactly, maybe it just wasn't for me. Maybe it wasn't my path. So working hard, that's just number one. And if you don't want to do it, forget it. I've loads of kids. You go, want to be a rugby player. I want that to be my career. And my automatic response often is, no, you don't. Which, like, bystanding parents are like, that's a bit of a weird one. I'm like, no, you've seen someone lift a trophy and you actually want glory. So I'll give them a small insight of what it takes to be a rugby player. And if you're willing to commit to that, I'll tell you, you've got a good chance. Because was I the most talented rugby player of the lads that I grew up with that played county rugby, played underage rugby, that played at Harlequins, did England age grade stuff? No, like absolutely not. There was way more talented kids and they didn't make it. So how come? For me, the overriding takeaway is like talent isn't enough. It's just not. It's not. Was I the most driven? I'm not going to sit here and be like, I was the most driven, I was the most dedicated, I was this and that and all the rest of it. And it's one of the biggest lessons I take away from sport, because I let myself down in my career, but I know I worked hard. I also know what a tough life looks like, and I know what I was fighting for. And maybe my why and my fight was different to some of the others, because I knew what I wanted to do and wanted to achieve beyond just medals and this and that. Because I know my backstory. Also, couldn't have had a better role model than my mum. Like, as a single mum, 5 kids, like getting back from work, doing us dinner, then getting on the bus to go and do another job, to then get back late, to get up to do it again. And she wasn't doing it for banter. She wasn't doing it for a laugh. She'd much prefer to be at home.
Yeah.
She's doing it all for us, so I couldn't have learned off a better person.
There's a clip circulating at the moment. I don't know whether you've seen it, and it's where with Chris Eubank. Have you seen it? And it's
So good.
and his mum says he wants to go into boxing, and Chris says, "People like you don't go into boxing. Middle class people who have grown up in this environment do not, because you will not be hungry enough."
Yep.
And fair play to him, you know, he's made a superb success of it.
Yeah.
But you can see where he's coming from.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's why a lot of footballers, it's normally working class
Yeah.
grit. It's because there's that small a number that gets through.
Yeah.
You have really got to want it, haven't you?
Of course. And it's interesting. There's this coach, international coach. He's brilliant, like so inspiring. He says it's really hard to get the balance with the lads at an elite level. He says you want to give them everything, but it can't be 5-star. Because if it's 5-star and everything's there for them, they lose a little bit of hunger, a bit of desire, and it's all a bit easy. But you do want it to be 5-star for them because it's what they deserve and they should have the best of everything. It's like if you make it 4-star, they'll complain a little bit. It's not perfectly comfortable. It's not everything's easy. Everything's laid out. Click their fingers, everything's there. It's like you almost want to provide not a 4-star coaching service, 5-star coaching service, but the surroundings. You want them to work a little bit for it.
Get a cold shower every so often, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like with my kids, thankfully they have a good life. But I think it's every parent's duty, that's how I've taken it anyway, to be able to give them a better life than what I've had. And that's not me looking down on my life. I loved the life and the upbringing I had. And I want, if my kids want kids, for them to be able to provide a better life and look back and be like, bloody hell, we really struggled, but they didn't. But by comparison, that's what it is. But whilst they do have a good life, I want them to understand what hard work is.
Yeah.
I really do. And it's like, sometimes I've got to pinch myself, like, because they've had a different experience. I mean, they're only young, but things they've done in their short lives, 8 and 5, I hadn't done till I was like 21, 22. They've like gone on business class flights. Right. And I'm so pleased I can give them that. But at the same time, like, oh, don't get spoiled. Don't get spoiled. So I did some work actually with the Savoy Hotel. And they're really generous and were like, we'd love to invite you and your family to come and stay for a night, just as a massive thank you. I said, yeah, that's amazing. So generous. And so I booked a couple of months later. I think the girls were on Easter holidays, whatever. So went stayed up at the Savoy. The staff were amazing. Like, honestly, for me as a 10-year-old, 15-year-old thinking of staying at the Savoy, like that's a wild dream. I'm staying at the Savoy with the kids now. And they put us in a suite. Honestly, they couldn't have done enough. And then remember a couple of weeks later, I was with some friends. And they're like, how's your Easter holidays? Like, it was really nice. And Phoenix went, we stayed at the Savoy. And I was like, okay, we don't talk about this outside the house.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want people to think that's the life you have. Like, it was a freebie, thankfully. I was like really grateful. Like, no, we're a Premier Inn family, okay? So we ain't just bopping about, just rolling up at the Savoy because we're staying in town for the night. Yeah. I really want people to I want my kids to understand that I've told them, because we live southwest London, and if we ever drive past Twickenham Stadium, they're like, that's Daddy's work. And they come along to see Twickenham, and they've been to matches, and it's been brilliant. And they're like, what's it like playing there? Amazing, it's incredible. I said, but do you know, Dad, the first time Dad was there, it's like, you played for England? It's like, no. Daddy worked there doing silver service, getting paid £8 an hour. I couldn't afford to buy a ticket. I worked there. I was up in the hospitality suite serving like lunch and dinner and pouring people's drinks, all the rest of it. And I'll never forget one of the first times I was there, I was doing the silver service job. I was buzzing, mate. In fact, at the end of the day, I was like 60 odd quid. I was so chuffed. 60 quid in a day, I was like buzzing. And I was at Twickenham watching England play. And one of the first times I was there, I was doing this job, and Johnny Wilkinson had like played that day, and he'd come in the hospitality suite to say hello to all the guests and this and that. And I looked to one of the waiters. I was like, I know him. They're like, yeah, we all know who he is. I was like, no, I know him. We went to the same school. He was in the same boarding house. So I panicked, like back against the wall, and I just went, Johnny. Thankfully, he looked over. He was like, oh, you're right, Hugo. Mate, I was made up. But I've gone from like serving people teas and coffees, serving their cold drinks, their champagnes, serving their Sunday roast, to playing on the pitch. Like, that's the journey.
Yeah.
Whilst everyone just knows, oh, we played at Twickenham, because we live in a highlights world, because social media only ever see the best bits of it. But one of the best bits of it was the fact that I've gone from that to be able to represent my country. I can't ever forget that. And they're the bits that I want my kids to know.
Yeah. When did you realise and thought, you know what, I can make a career out of this?
I had an inner confidence. I always thought I was good enough, because I'd never, excuse me, I'm not afraid of failure. And if I've got one good quality, I'd say I always back myself. I'm just like, just get me in the room. Get me in the room. Get me on the pitch. I'll show him. Like, I'll show him. So all I ever wanted were opportunities. And I think this was massively galvanised. I had an England under-21 trial, and I didn't get selected. I remember being in the car home, like, it felt like an injustice. Like, and by the way, everyone at every trial thinks they are good enough, but it felt different to me. I was like, no, I know I'm better than the players they've selected. Like, I know I'm better. I was fuming, and I shared a room with a player called Matt Stevens, and I was like, have you been dropped too? So yeah, I said, mate, we'll show him. He says, we'll show him. I said, we'll both end up playing for England. And we did end up playing for England. It's mental. Like, we end up playing the same team for England together. That's how it ended. But I knew then, I was like, nah, like, this isn't how the story goes. I don't know where it came from, but it was this inner confidence that I had. And then I got selected to play for the England Sevens team. So rugby union's 15 aside. There's also 7-a-side rugby, and that's like a touring party effectively. So I got dropped for the England under-21s, which I was fuming about. The following week, England Sevens went, we want you to play for the England Sevens team, represent your country. And by the way, at this point, so I'm 18, or was I 19? 18 or 19. I'd never been on a plane. So I'm now being selected to play for England Sevens, and our tournament was in Australia. So I'm like, okay, the first time I go on a plane, I'm heading to Australia. I better get a passport. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, right, need to get a passport. So we got a passport, like, this all true. So we got a passport. So I said yes, and I was like, right, okay, like, I need this, like, speedy service, right? And, like, do you know, you can sometimes give reasons to be able to get things processed quick. I was like, well, I'll be selected for England. need to go to Oz in a couple of weeks. So I got a passport done, get selected to play for England Sevens. We go down to Brisbane. I go on the plane, turn left. I'm in business class. I'm like, what's this? Like, this is mental. Like, this whole thing. Get to the airport lounge. I mean, I'd never, like, had to do all this. I'm like, in this airport lounge, and with British Airways, I'm like, this is banging. Like, not like I could touch any of the champagne or the rest of it. I mean, I was that excitable kid where I wanted everything, but the coaches are looking at you like, I can't just get on the piss here. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've to just smash and shut. It's free. I've literally, like, packed my bags full of, like, nuts and, like, free chocolates and the mini Pepsi. Like, it was all brand new to me. And then we're in business class, like, this is class. Anyway, we land in Brisbane. We play the tournament. I get player of the tournament. And it was England's first ever win on the World Seven Series. So it was a historic, like, trip and a World Player of the Series. And I thought, I knew I was a good player. So that happened a week or 2 weeks after being dropped for England under-21s. I get home England under 21s recalled me to the squad. And I just thought, what's changed? I've not changed as a player in 2 weeks. The only thing that's changed is your perception of me. I had to go and prove myself for you to think I'm worth it. I'm the same player I was 2 weeks ago, but that's cool. I've had a business class trip to Brisbane. I've had my first flight experience, play the tournament. We've had a first World 7 series. So that setback gave me this incredible opportunity to go and do all this great stuff. I then play for England under 21s, Six Nations match, made my debut against Scotland. I scored 2 tries. I'm the same player that wasn't selected 2 weeks ago. What changed? Nothing, just people's perceptions. That's why it's so important to, regardless of what happens in and around you, to not lose perspective of who you think you are as a person. It's mad. And so those setbacks and those moments over 2 or 3 weeks, I was like, I know I'm about something. Like, I know I'm a good player and I've gone and proven it. But you're still at the start of your journey.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of successful people always feel at the start of the journey, don't they? Whether it's in sport or business, it's like, I suppose, certain sport, when you get a little bit older, you know it's coming to an end.
Yeah.
But there's always that drive and a desire that you still have to go out and prove yourself constantly.
100%. And it's only because I only said I was at the start of my career because there's so much more I wanted to achieve. Like, if all you ever wanted to do was play for England under 21s, then you've completed it, you're done, you're at the end of your journey. I was just at the start, played for the sevens, played under 21s, and I do think high performing people are also massively highly motivated, but it's also slightly dangerous as well because you have this unsatiable thirst for success. So I wanted to play for England under 21s, then I did it. I was like, right, let's do it again. Like, when's enough?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'd done it, and then I played that whole Six Nations. We won a Grand Slam. I then made my debut for Harlequins. All happened like really, really quick. Really, really.
Was your
really
head
quick.
just spinning at this point?
Or
did you just take it all in your stride?
I was just enjoying all of it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just like the job I was doing, which also was my hobby and my passion. It was giving me these incredible life experiences. In that year, I'd gone from never being on a plane to going. I went to Brisbane, Wellington in New Zealand, Singapore, Hong Kong, LA, and Paris. I was 19. Like, it's a lot, man.
And bags and bags full of Pepsi and nuts.
Just collected bits on the way.
Couldn't shut the door to the apartment.
Exactly. So it's like, what a year.
Yeah.
What a year off the back of being injured for a whole year, thinking, what's going on? Which perfectly set me up for the year, to having the setback of you're not playing for England under 21s, to then travelling the world, achieving a good bit, all happened in a short space of time. It just made me crazy excited. I was like, if this is the start, like, what else is out there? Like, what else is out there? I'd never been on a plane for 18 years, and I've done all this in 6 months, not even a year. What else can this career, what other doors can it open up? What else can I do? What else can I achieve? But whilst remaining like, keep the main thing, which is playing rugby. And you've only been able to achieve these things, if you can call them achievements, or experience these things because you work bloody hard. Like, the minute you get your head caught up in the bright lights of it, and you're focused on turning left on planes and earning a bit of extra cash, you've got more time. Like, if you want to get caught up in that, hey, it's all going to come to an end quite quickly. But if you remember the root of all of this, then you just get back to working really hard. And all it made me was so driven just to want to do more. I got complacent in my career.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. 2009, I went on British and Irish Lions tour, and that, there's no better team if you're from Britain and Ireland. It's the greatest of the greatest of all teams. That was wicked. And I found rugby felt simple at that point. I played for England. I'm now going on this tour with the best of the best coaches, physios, strength and conditioner, like everything, like saying like, keep it 4-star. This was 6-star. This was, doesn't get better. And yeah, I was achieving a lot, and life was good, and the game felt simple. Things were just happening. Like things were just happening. And then, yeah, I was a young single lad, like living in London, and yeah, you head out. Yeah, yeah. I remember like one week I had a huge game the weekend up against an England hopeful, and I went out on a double date with a mate of mine, and geez, we'll just have a bottle of wine. What's a bottle of wine between four? Mate, I rolled in at 5 that morning. Rolled at 5 that morning. I felt like death the next day. Guilt trained, and then played the match on Saturday. Got man of the match. I was getting away with stuff, and that's not
That's
good.
the worst thing then, isn't it? Because you think, if you were absolutely awful, you think,
Yeah,
I'm not doing
Never
that
do it
again.
again. We were like laughing. We're like, maybe we should do this every week. Obviously works. Do you know what I mean? So you just become a bit silly, and yeah, I definitely became complacent, and I should have achieved more in my career for the talent I had. But I'm almost 10 years retired now. My rugby career is 14 years. By the time I'm 46, I'd have spent as many years retired as I did playing the game. And the lessons of being complacent and thinking life can get easy is the best and biggest lesson I take away from my career, because I'm never complacent now. I'll always be hungry. Like, how dare I think ever be complacent? Do I realise how hard my mum worked to give me an opportunity? What, and now you think you've made it? Now you want to be complacent and just chill out a bit? Don't ever forget that. So whilst I can't change any of it, and I could be disappointed that I didn't win more caps or I didn't win more trophies, and I had a successful career and like loved every minute of it, that lesson, like that's the one thing I've taken into my second career now. So there's never like, I hustle hard, I work hard, I would never be comfortable, I would never be complacent, and it's great. So whilst once again it was a disappointment at the time, I'm so grateful it happened. I know people often say this when something bad happens, it becomes cliche. I'm so grateful it happened. I'm like, no, I'm grateful it happened. Grateful it happened because it set me up perfectly now.
What would you say is your highest high, but also your lowest low?
Oh, yeah, that's. So I played for the Lions. So to be selected for the Lions is the best of the best. So to be selected is just epic, right? There's no higher achievement if you're from Britain or Ireland, and some people describe it as your like career Everest. And I was fortunate enough to do that. I went on that tour, and one of the other lads in my position, he was also the World Player of the Year that year. So I had like the stiffest competition. There's not a better player on the planet, but I wanted to battle hard, battle fair, but like go toe to toe and see what happens. And I got selected in the first test match ahead of him. So that was big. And I'm playing against South Africa in South Africa. They were world champs at the time. No bigger test. So you stood there singing the national anthem. Not a prouder moment in your career than that. And then during that first test, I bombed a couple of try scoring opportunities. And then I knew it. And then we lost the match. So like life come at you quick. It can humble you. You know, it can give it to you. It can take away super, super quick. Like, I believe in God. I'm a Christian. I believe in heaven and hell. And I feel as if I've witnessed and felt both of those within the same game. Like, how can you go from the highest high to 80 minutes later being like, so it's that day. That day was tough. But like, it's these polarizing emotions that you get in life. Do you know what I mean? And that was a tough day, but then I then got dropped for the second test match, and that was tough, like watching, not feeling as if you could contribute. But then I got selected for the third test match, and the best moment in my rugby career happen in a third test match. And I always use this as an example just because life's never like that on this upward trajectory. You have these bumps in the road, you have these peaks and you have these troughs, and can massively spike and can massively decline. And you never know when it's coming.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, oh, okay, well, this or that. But I didn't know in the first test that that was going to happen to me. Well, if you knew, it wouldn't happen, would it? But it's mad to think after that, then the second test match, that the best moment of mine. So I intercepted a ball 70 metres from the try line, sprint, 6.5, 7 seconds to get there. I started playing rugby age 13. That moment came 26. It was 13 years for 7 seconds of like glory. But if I had to do another 13 years for them 7 seconds, I'd do it again.
Yeah.
But at the start of that journey, you don't know you're going to get those 7 seconds. It might not ever exist, but you have to work towards something, and you have to keep pushing. And after the first test match, when I got dropped, I didn't know that match was round the corner. But actually, it was only 60 minutes away. I had to just keep working. So imagine for lots of people who are in whatever position right now and they feel as if like life's really hard and work's tough and you're not seeing the fruits of your labour, it could literally be 60 minutes away. You know, it could all change tomorrow. It might just do. And sometimes life can be so overwhelming and so difficult, but like I try and keep it really simple, just like one foot in front of the other. Just keep working, keep moving, because you don't know when it might all turn around. So yeah, that was an incredible tour. Didn't finish as we wanted it to, but in terms of life experiences, good and bad, yeah, I witnessed both the very best and the very worst.
So obviously you're a very resilient person and you've got this positive mindset, but has it ever gone the other way for you? Have you ever struggled where you thought?
Yeah. I think time where I really struggled was, so in 2021, so I'd been retired 6 years and I got asked to do Strictly Come Dancing, right? I mean, that's mad. Like, what an experience. Like, what an experience. Probably the most consuming thing I've ever done.
Really?
Yeah, like it's a lot. I don't think people realise like how much it is. And I don't think dancers get enough credit just for how athletically brilliant they are. Like they are animals, like incredible, do everything. But yeah, absolutely love that experience. But what I didn't know in the build up to it, so at the time, my wife and I had separated and I lost my dad all within like a 2 or 3 week period. And then I remember the first live show we did on Strictly, because it was COVID time. So my dad lived in Nigeria and that was a red zone. Africa, the whole of Africa was pretty much a red zone. So I had my dad's funeral online at Zoom at 4:30 and I was dancing in front of 8 million people 3 hours later, like in some like pink chiffon semi-sheer show. Honestly, like you talk about like parallel universes.
Yeah. You're just in a haze of...
Yeah, for life, me, I still don't really know how I did it. Well, yeah, I think as sports people, you have to be good at compartmentalizing things. Like when something negative happens on the pitch, we always think next job, next thing, and try and remain present. But to go from 4:30 Zoom funeral to jazz hands and giving it the large one 3 hours later was wild. And I remember that period, I was so busy anyway, but I now realise I was so grateful to be busy and I just try to keep myself busy because I think I was scared of how I would feel or what I'd have to confront if I was just on my own and there was nothing to do. So I was just flat out busy, literally hamster on the wheel. And then you exit the show and I kept myself really busy and I was just doing loads of stuff. And at some point you've got to take time out. Like, I think emotions, the best way I try and describe it is, so if you like shake up like a can of Coke, put it on the side, if you open that now, it's going to explode. But if you walk away, go do something 10 minutes later and you forget you've shaken it up, and so like, you've got to deal with your emotions or they'll deal with you.
Mm.
And so I had to, and I like spoke to a therapist, and like, I still speak to him now. I think everyone should have a therapist, actually. But being able to like chat to him, talk about, and he really challenges me because he'll ask me questions, and I used to just give him like surface level answers, and he's like, no, like, Hugo, come on. I know you work in broadcasting, but you're not getting away with that. You just give me a surface level. It's like, how do you actually feel? Don't analyze the situation or the moment. Tell me how you feel. And I've never been great at that. Never been. So that was a challenge. But yeah, that period there, that was tough. That was really tough. But I still learned lots of good things as well. Not everything's positive, and you can't try and put a positive twist on everything. Like, when it's shit, say it's shit.
Yeah.
When it's good, accept that it's good.
So when it come up to retirement for you, like you mentioned before about like your second career, did you know you wanted to go into media, or was the option to go into coaching, management and stuff? And how did you decide what one to choose?
So I planned for it. I signed my last contract at age 29, 3 years. And I said, I consciously made a decision that I'd spend 3 years, commit myself to the game, but also exploring opportunities outside of it. And if at the age of 32, my body feels great and I'm flying and I can contribute as much as what I feel as if I should, then I'll crack on. But if at the end of those 3 years, I don't feel like I want to or my body can, then let's see what else is there. So in that first year, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what I wanted to do, had no answers. And then I spent a lot of time the second year figuring out what I didn't want to do. It's like having a bad ex, right? Once you've seen it, you're like, don't want to do that again.
Yeah. But you don't know at the time.
Don't want that. Seen that, red flag. And so sometimes it's better to work back to front. What do you definitely don't want to do? And then you can just like cut things out and figure the things out like that. And then I met this guy, Nick Mullins, his name is. He's a lead commentator. I still work with him today. He approached me and said, what are you doing at the end of the year? I went, I've had offers to stay at Harlequins. I've had offers to go to France. I'm considering all. And he went, ever thought about broadcasting? I did bits and pieces in the media, but never thought of it as a full-time job. And he said, well, his wife, who actually used to work on the World 7 series, so I'd known her since I was 19, she said she reckons you might be good. So do you want to give it a go? So, okay, cool, let's give it a go. And honestly, it's mad how things work out. In my last year, was it my last year? I think it might be my last year. I'd like suffered with groin issues all pre-season, rehabbed the life out of it. And then in the first game, played at Twickenham. In 15 minutes, I scored my first try. And as I scored the try, I got tackled. I didn't realise at the time, but I'd torn the tendon off the bone in my groin. But I was so embarrassed it happened early, I tried to stay on the pitch and like run it off. I came off after 25 minutes, whatever. Anyway, that led to me having like a groin reconstruction. I tore my pubis. No prizes for guessing where that is. And I was out for 3 months. And so I had loads of time to then have a look at broadcasting. So I remember doing my first game, and the only thing I wanted to get out of it was, will I enjoy it? I did the first game. I was like, I was probably useless, but I really enjoyed it. Going back to like being a kid, if you do something you enjoy, you put more time into it. If you put more time into something, you're going to get better, and you just continue doing that. And I loved it. And I tell you what, I love my job, like obsessed. I love it, like love it so much. And that's how it all came about. That injury led to more time, more opportunities, getting better, realised I loved it, and I've been in this job now almost a decade. So it's mad. I'm 42 and I feel so fortunate. Since I've left school, I've had 2 jobs, no job interviews, and I've spent over 2 decades doing things that I just love.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Can't believe it.
What's next?
I'm nowhere near capacity of the things that I want to do. So I think, like, my summary of my career was, I think I spent 14 years living the dream, doing stuff, but a lot of it was like for me, winning trophies, winning medals, accolades, all the rest of it. Well, I was winning stuff with the team, but I want to spend a lot of time focusing on doing things for others now, like truly. So I do a lot of work with various different bodies, which will have zero impact on my life, but will help and give opportunities and provide pathways to other people to try and live their dream. I'm on the board of trustees of Women's Sports Trust. I've got a massive heart for young girls in life, being a girl dad. Like, I want the world they grow up into to be a world full of equity, knowing that if my daughter has a dream to become X, that the world won't rally against her.
Yeah.
So if she doesn't make it, it's not because there was an opportunity. It's just because she might not have been good enough or she didn't want to do it. So that's a big part of it. But there's so many things that I want to do, and I have them that spin around in my head. But I'm working in spaces I didn't even realise I'd have a passion for when I was playing. So to try and predict where I'll be and what I'll be doing in 10 years, I didn't realise 10 years ago I'd be doing the things that I'm doing right now. But I'm really excited by it. When I retired, I thought, I was only 32. I don't want to spend the rest of my life just replaying the best moments of the career I had. That's going to be a pretty sad life.
Yeah.
Especially when I've got so much life to live. I didn't want to just spend the next 50, 60 years looking in the rear view mirror going, oh, geez, wasn't I good? But looking out the windscreen at the world of opportunity and the road ahead and being able to like pave your own way, that's the vision I have. That's the opportunity I've got, whilst also being really open to saying yes to lots of things, because you just don't know where it'll lead you.
And if the second part of your career can be as successful as the first
More
part,
successful.
or more success, imagine what you're going to be able to do for other people.
Oh, 100%. 100%. 14 years of doing stuff cool, like, but honestly, I made a promise to myself that I wanted my second career to be way more impactful and way more successful, and whatever the metric for success is, I want it to be way more successful than my rugby career.
Yeah.
That's what drives me. That's what keeps me motivated, and I'll never be complacent. So I know whatever I do, on whatever I don't do, will because I wasn't good enough, or I couldn't do it, or wasn't skilled enough, not because I got comfortable and complacent. So I'm buzzing. I'm super excited for, where the world takes me. And that sounds passive, because I want to be intentional about the things that I do and the places that I go.
So just before we finish, sum yourself up in 3 words.
One's getting so much easier doing it for other people, isn't it? We actually used to do it as a team building exercise. We'd all sit in a room and we go, right, sum yourself, stand in front of the room, sum yourself up in 3 words. And whilst I was doing it, everyone else would do it about you. And so I might be like, good bloke, honest, hardworking. Lads would be like, lazy. It's like, that's when you got to sense check yourself.
Yeah.
Like, but when there was a symmetry or a synergy in what they thought of you versus what you think of yourself, spot on. That's a sweet spot.
Driven, resilient.
I think I'm driven.
You're not going to throw dancing in there, are you, mate? No.
A few beers, everyone's a dancer. I think I'm driven. I'm happy. And I don't know. I'm driven, I'm happy, and I'm a dad, because that's something I'm so proud of. Like the thing that, in terms of achieving, that's the best achievement of them all. Yeah. That's me.
Mate, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I've
Really
enjoyed
enjoyed it. Thank you.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, Rob. Enjoyed that, mate.
Yeah, that was cool.
So much.
It's good fun.